Hey YouTubers, so I got a quick open question for you guys right now. I'm just wondering, is it time that we took somewhat of a break from the Tournament of Power? And what do I mean by that? I basically mean, for most animes or for some of these animes that go week to week, other things basically not of the ilk of Dragon Ball Super, because Dragon Ball Super isn't necessarily running off of a manga. It's basically running off of Dragon Ball Kai and just the general popularity of Dragon Ball as Toriyama basically makes his bullet point outlines of what he thinks every single arc should be or what the general story should be. And then, of course, they hand it off to Toritaro and then Toei, and they make two basically separate stories that follow similarly the same outline or the same path. The one thing, though, is with other things that I've watched in anime, and I'm by no means an anime expert, and you guys probably know a lot more about this than I do, and that's why I'm really kind of coming to you guys about whether or not this is something that we should be doing or thinking about doing. Is I know filler has a bad reputation in the majority of the anime community. They don't like to focus on stuff that's not necessarily part of the story, and we fall into a really interesting thing, like I said, with Dragon Ball Super, because there isn't necessarily any room for filler. Every single episode can be really important to the story, or they can move the story forward. One of the big things about that is we haven't necessarily had an arc that is as long as this particular one. And before this, I think the longest arc for the entire series was the Future Trunks arc, which was the mid-20s. I'm not necessarily sure. I can't remember. But we haven't had any ridiculously long arcs, and that's back when we used to have 30, 40, 50 plus episodes to the Frieza fight or all the stuff happening with Majin Buu. So it is kind of cool that we don't necessarily have all of those huge, big arcs. But at the same time, I kind of like, as a fan of Dragon Ball and as a fan of anime, I kind of like the downtime, where not necessarily the main story is occurring, but maybe you go focus on characters that the show or the series doesn't necessarily focus on too much, and you kind of get away from all the, you have an uplifting episode when all this stuff is basically just going to crap in the main story, and it doesn't necessarily affect, it just adds, and it allows everyone to kind of take a breath and be like, well, the last couple episodes have been really depressing or a little bit intense. Let's kind of get away from that and let's do something a little bit more heartfelt or a little bit more fun-loving. And I really feel like Dragon Ball Super probably needs that right now. We ran into this situation back in the time when they had the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, the whole Champa arc, where once they got onto the tournament ring, there was just basically nothing going on outside of what the current fight at the time was. And all the drama around there, I think the most we ever got, besides some kind of shots of Beerus or Champa or some of the people in Universe 6, talking, or Universe 7 talking, we really got that thing where Frost tried to go away, and then Vados and Hit followed him, and then Hit kind of got a chance to show his powers before he actually started fighting with Vegeta or Goku during the fight. And while I really love that fight, and I really like that arc, I am probably going to be the first one to tell you that one of the reasons I don't think that necessarily holds up is because we spent way too much time in that ring and didn't necessarily explore the world around us. And that's not even to say they didn't have any options to. They made a point before that tournament actually began to say that Gohan was going to a conference, and one of the things about that was they could have kind of taken an entire episode just to dedicate to Gohan running around the conference, being the great Saiyaman, and then also kind of getting his fight sense back, or figuring out ways to use his fight sense or his powers or something to not only help him with the conference or take out some enemy or some robbers or something, but also kind of at least plant the seeds for what we're seeing right now. Well, I'm a little bit tired. The same thing we saw with Goku at the beginning of this particular arc, where a bullet kind of grazed him and he's like, wow, I'm really out of it right now. So they could have done that with Gohan. They had that ripe opportunity. Now they have the ripe opportunity to kind of take an episode or two, go back, let's see what Trunks, Goten, and Marin are doing while they're taking over the watch for 17. I mean, we did see, and they made a point to show the poachers going way out of their way to go attack again once they realized they were leaving it with kids. Let's see what Bulma and Bra are up to, man. Are they getting into any hijinks in and of themselves? What is Dende and Mr. Popo doing? Let's bring all the people who aren't necessarily at the tournament together to literally go and watch the last minutes of the fight on the lookout or something like that. And so we get a sense, at least, that even though they could potentially lose their universe, you still get those moments the same way that we got in the Boo arc or the Cell games or even the Saiyan saga, where it was, we're all watching you and we're all rooting for you, and we can cut away to that and we get to see them watching. Dragon Ball Super hasn't necessarily done that. They didn't do that with the Frieza arc. Of course, that wasn't necessarily going to happen. They haven't done it with this arc. I mean, they did kind of do it with the Champa arc tournament, but at the same time, they had potential to cut away from that. And if you don't cut away from it, we kind of get too bogged down on what's going on and seeing who's fighting who and all this other stuff, and we kind of get fatigued in that way. My suggestion, we got the hour-long special coming up, and I will say some spoilers here, so make sure to click off the video or skip ahead a little bit. Just skip ahead like 20 seconds, you'll be fine. But we got Goku going up against Jiren, new transformation for Goku. What, in my opinion, what is going to happen after that? And I feel like that episode, that special, is going to encompass a situation that's so dark that although a lot of people might be mad, I feel like might need to at least have a downtime. Give us something to laugh about. Go to Gohan or Goten, Trunks, and Marin. See what they're up to. Give us a chance to laugh and have fun, and give us a little bit more time to wait. I mean, they're going to give us 2 episodes at once anyway. They can take off a week and not necessarily do anything important to this particular story or anything else like that. So guys, I know that was just kind of a mouthful. I don't necessarily know whether they'll ever do this, but I really hope they do, because I would really like to see what all the other characters outside of Universe 7's team are actually up to. At least in an episode. Show me Goten and Trunks, Marin. Show me Braun, Bulma. Show me Chi-Chi. Show me Dende and Mr. Popo. Show me Chaozu and all this other stuff. Please show me the people that we're not looking at. Show me what Yamcha's doing after he was completely rejected. That would be awesome. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think I'm overboard thinking here? Do you think that I'm right? Anything that you think about this particular topic? I honestly said, like, this is an open question. I don't necessarily know this as well as you guys do when it comes to anime and how filler works, or just your general opinion about this stuff. So guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button. It's going to notify you every single time I upload. But with that being said, guys, I hope everyone has a good day. It's been real.